In this video, I'm going to make a case that sounds backwards. Walking into a dealership and announcing I'm paying cash can leave you worse off, not better. Then I'm going to open the hood on the whole operation and walk you through all 14 ways a dealership makes money on you during a single sale. And if you're a typical buyer, you're quietly paying into every one of them. Let's get into it. The number you see is the only number they let you see. So you do your homework. You pull a pricing report, Consumer Reports, Edmunds, Kelley Blue Book, TrueCar, JD Power, take your pick, and it tells you the manufacturer's invoice, which is roughly what the factory charged the dealer for the car. You march in, you negotiate for an hour, and you grind the salesperson down to $50 over invoice. They sigh and tell you they're basically losing money on this one. You shake hands feeling like a champion. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You didn't win. In most cases, you didn't even come close. Start with this. That pricing report isn't some leaked, classified document. The dealership has already read it. Their managers have read all of them, Edmunds, KBB, TrueCar, JD Power, because every one of those reports is built from publicly available data. None of it surprises them. What those reports don't contain is the private financial arrangement between the manufacturer and the dealer. That contract isn't published anywhere, and that's where most of the money lives. Don't get me wrong, having a report still beats walking in blind because at least you know the invoice. Most people show up with a target monthly payment in their head, and the moment they hit that number, they relax, even if that number leaves a lot of value on the table. So with that report, you can calculate the gross profit, the price you paid, minus the invoice. Say the sticker is $34,000 and the invoice is $31,500. You grind them to $31,550. They made $50 of visible gross. Genuinely a great outcome on the part you can see, but the visible part is the only part you see. Everything else is kept off your screen. Let me show you what's behind it. Layer 1, the front-end money the factory pays the dealer. There's an entire layer of profit the manufacturer pays the dealer that never appears on your paperwork. It's real, it has a name in the industry, and it's a whole stack of payments. 1, dealer holdback, money the factory sends back to the dealer after the sale, typically 2% to 3% of MSRP. On a $430 car, a 2% holdback is $680. At dry percent, it's $1,020. So you think you won by getting within $50 of invoice, but line item number 1 alone already made them somewhere around 13 to 20 times your victory, and we're just getting started. 2, dealer cash incentive, extra money the factory pays to move specific models. If they overbuilt a trim that isn't selling, they pay dealers to push it. 3, volume/stair-step bonus. Hit a sales target, and the dealer earns a cash bonus, and the more they sell, the bigger it gets. This is exactly why dealers loosen up at month-end and quarter-end. They're chasing a unit threshold, and your deal might be the one that tips them over it. 4, regional dealer-only rebate. When a particular region is underperforming or the competition is brutal, the factory quietly hands local dealers extra incentive to move metal. 5, floor plan assistance. Dealers borrow money to stock inventory, and that loan carries interest. Floor plan assistance is the factory helping cover that interest. Layer 2, the back-end money the factory pays the dealer. 6, back-end/CSI incentives. These aren't tied directly to units sold. They reward things like customer satisfaction scores and brand standards. You literally fill out a survey and the dealer can get paid for a good one. Another channel for factory cash to flow to the dealer. So how much do they actually make per car? The 2026 reality, here's where I'll show you my sources because you can check them yourself. Some dealership groups don't run 1 or 2 stores, they run hundreds. And several of them are publicly traded, which means they have to disclose in detail how they make money. You could call your brokerage tomorrow and buy shares of Lithia Driveway or AutoNation. Because they answer to investors, their financials are public. These numbers come from those filings. Lithia Driveway, now the largest automotive retailer on the planet, with 333 dealerships in the US and around 459 worldwide, plus AutoNation and Penske, both publicly traded giants in the hundreds of stores. And here's the part that matters. The eye-watering profit numbers you may have heard from a few years ago were a pandemic mirage. When inventory dried up in 2021-2022, new car gross profit briefly ran north of $3,000, $4,000 per unit. That era is over. Supply normalized, and margins have compressed hard. Their own 2026 disclosures show it. New car gross profit is now running roughly $2,300 to $2,800 per car. Lithia reported about $2,760 for the fourth quarter of 2025. AutoNation slid from around $2,800 down toward $2,300 across 2025. Used car gross profit is roughly $1,500 to $1,600 per car. Lithia about $1,575, AutoNation in the same neighborhood. Now, gross profit is useful, but it's not take-home. They still have to pay rent, the receptionist, the lot lighting, the whole overhead, what's called SG&A, selling, general, and administrative expenses. Strip that out, and the net profit on the car itself often falls to just a few $100s. SG&A as a share of gross profit has actually been climbing. Lithia noted it rose to over 71% as those front-end margins thinned. So yes, if you grind them to $50 over invoice on the car, that genuinely is a strong result on the metal. But here's the thing, the car was never where the real money was. The real money is made after the price is locked in. It's made in the finance office. And almost everybody lets their guard down the second they walk through that door. The finance office, where the deal actually gets won by them. Back to the public filings. After the haggling is done, you're handed off to the finance and insurance manager, the F&I office. An F&I per car on top of the gross on the vehicle is enormous. Lithia reported about $1,874 per unit in late 2025, and AutoNation's customer financial services ran closer to $2,700 per unit. Call it roughly $1,900 to $2,800 of additional profit per car, layered on top of the few $100s they netted on the vehicle itself. Let's break that down line by line. 7. Loan reserve, the rate markup. When you finance, the lender sets a minimum rate they'll accept, call it 6%. The dealer is allowed to mark that up, say to 7%, and pocket the spread. That markup commonly runs $600 to $1,000 plus per car. 8. Extended warranty / vehicle service contract, the one nobody fully understands. They read you a long list of what's covered, and never the list of what isn't. Profit margin here is typically $700 to $1,000 plus. 9. Gap insurance. Honestly, not a terrible product if you finance, especially with a small down payment. If your car is totaled, the payout from your insurer may be less than what you still owe, the gap, and this covers it. But the dealer's profit is roughly $250 to $500, and you can usually buy the same coverage cheaper through your own insurer or credit union. Protection add-ons, wheel and tire, paint / fabric protection, floor mats, that kind of thing. Profit is smaller, $0 to $300 plus. Blend it all, and that finance office is pulling roughly $1,900 to $2,800 per car, frequently more than the entire front-end profit on the vehicle. And then there's the paperwork. You're not done. There's another $700 to $900 of profit baked into the paperwork itself. 11. Processing / documentation fee, the charge for typing your deal into a computer and printing it out. This has crept up over the years, and now commonly runs $500 to $900 plus. Depending on your state, some states cap it, most don't. 12. Electronic filing / registration markup. They mark up the cost of applying for your registration, a profit of roughly $40 to $90 on top of the actual fee. 13. The paper plate for your dashboard, until the real plates show up, $20 to $50. 14. Notary / digital minus contracting fee. Someone witnesses your signature, $10 to $30 of profit. Add F&I and paperwork together, and a single car commonly generates $2,700 to $2,900 of profit beyond the vehicle gross, and that's still before the most profitable department of all, the service center. A lot of service work is covered under warranty, but covered doesn't mean free. It means the factory pays the dealer to do it. Either way, service is a profit machine, and a chunk of what they'll later upsell you on, you don't actually need. So why is paying cash a problem? Look back at that list. A huge share of the profit, the rate markup, the warranty, gap, the add-ons, only exists if you finance through them. So when you walk in and announce, "I'm a cash buyer, give me your best price," you've just told them you're eliminating $1,000 to $2,000 of their expected profit. The natural response? They hold firmer on the price of the car to make up for it. Paying cash to a contractor working on your house gets you a discount, and you probably don't want to ask too hard why. A dealership runs the opposite logic. To them, cash is the bad customer. Here's a tell. Notice that of all the fees in the finance office, the one they usually don't charge is a loan origination fee. Why? Because they don't want anything discouraging you from financing with them. The money isn't in an upfront fee, it's in the monthly payments and the markup riding inside them. Then I just won't tell them how I'm paying. Reasonable instinct. The problem is they test you throughout the process, and how flexible they get on price tracks how you answer. Most buyers never realize they're being tested. Test 1 happens before you meet a salesperson. The front desk hands you a clipboard. Name, address, the car you're eyeing, cash or finance, and whether you have a trade-in. Feels harmless. It isn't. If you write not sure, that changes the whole negotiation. Test 2. Suppose you said you'd finance. 2/3 of the way in, they want to run your credit to make sure you qualify. Often they're not really checking your credit, they're reconfirming you're going to finance. Test 3. The salesperson fills out your loan application before you ever reach the finance office. By the time you sit down with the F&I manager, you've been asked 3 different ways to commit to financing, so saying, "I'm not sure, just give me your best number," is harder than it sounds, and your leverage on the car price tends to shrink the deeper you go. The actual play, most auto loans let you prepay with no penalty. So here's the move. If there's no origination fee and no prepayment penalty, you can take the loan, get the finance buyer pricing and incentives, and then pay it off a day or a week later. You technically finance the car. Just briefly, read the contract carefully and confirm in writing there's no prepayment penalty or hidden early payoff charge. Because you now know how much they make on you as a finance buyer, you become a very profitable customer, and that gives you room to negotiate, not just the car price, but the line items too. The rate markup, push to see the buy rate. The extended warranty, knowing there's $700 $1,000 plus of margin, negotiate it or decline it. Gap it, negotiate or buy it elsewhere. Add-ons, decline the ones you don't want. You won't win every line item. Temp tags, e-filing, and notary are mostly fixed. So while you're in the office, pick your battles and only pay for what genuinely makes sense for you. One concrete tip, when they hand you that clipboard, ask early, what's the loan origination fee? They'll assume you're comparing loans. What you're really doing is confirming you can unwind the loan the next day without losing money. And read the final contract closely. Any real fees belong under finance charges or loan fees, and they have to be listed there. The showroom floor looks like where the action is. It isn't. The real profit is made in the finance office. And make no mistake, the F&I manager is the best salesperson in the building. They're not a clerk pushing paper. They're sitting in that office because that's where the biggest margins are. Know that going in, and you change the math. If this was useful, watch the next video, and if a dealership pulls the move in that video, walk out the door.